All right, I am calling the Village of Cross Plains Board of Trustee meeting of April 27th, 2026 to order. Roll call, please.
Trustee Henry.
Here.
Here, do my sheet, it's supposed to right. Trustee Brochus.
Here.
Trustee Borkart. Here. Trustee Borland.
Here.
Trustee Pomakowski.
Here.
Here. President Langfeld.
Here, please stand for a pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we're at public comment. This is an opportunity for anyone to address the village board on any issue. Please observe time limit of 3 minutes while the village board encourages input from residents. It may not discuss or act on any issue that is not duly noticed on the agenda.
Right, I have Alyssa Weeks. If you'd like to come up to the microphone, please state your name and address.
You can sit or stand, whatever you want, as long as you're near the mic there, that'd be great.
13 Westview Court, and we live right here in town. So good morning, members of the council. I'm here tonight to speak on behalf of my sister, Mackenzie McNeil, who resides at 2713 Westview Court, my nephew Brentley Hempthorne, and my mother Christy Weeks, who helped identify and advocate for the need for this safety sign. I am here to formally request the installation of a sensory impaired sign on Westview Court to ensure the safety of my 7-year-old nephew Brett. Bradley has autism, and like many children with sensory processing needs, he does not always perceive environmental dangers. He has limited safety awareness and is prone to elopement. He may suddenly bolt towards distraction, such as a bright reflection or a neighbor's dog, without checking for incoming traffic. Currently, drivers frequently exceed the speed limit or rush while traveling for big movements. Because Bradley's disability is invisible, drivers have no way of knowing they need to exercise extreme vigilance. Furthermore, a child with autism may not respond to honking horn or a shouted warning. In fact, sudden loud noises can cause a child to freeze or panic rather than move towards safety. We are asking the town to install a sensory impaired sign near the residents. This is a low-cost, high-impact measure that provides a vital visual cue for drivers to slow down and stay alert. It serves as a necessary layer of protection for one of our town's most vulnerable residents and others in the neighborhood with similar needs. As a family, our priority is ensuring that Brentley can exist safely in their own neighborhood. We hope the council will support this request to make our streets safer for everyone. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Anybody else?
There's
Do we
nobody,
have anybody on the internet?
nobody online, nope.
All right, we'll go to consent agenda. Upon request of any trustee, any item may be removed from the consent agenda for separate consideration under general business. Anybody had an item that they would want separated? All right, do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda, approve the consent agenda?
I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
All right, I have a motion and a second discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same. So move. All right, report of village officers, village president. I have nothing that's not going to be talked about on the agenda. Vice president.
I have 3 months of anniversaries. We have Ted Pritchett for 31 years on February 13th. Kelly McLinn, 3 years on March 4th. Zachary Esser, 1 year on March 24th. Matt Huey, 1 year on April 7th. Ray Darrow, 3 years on April 17th. And Matt Hudson, 4 years on April 25th. So congratulations, everybody.
Super. Thank you for doing that. Anything else?
No.
All right, other trustees? Bill?
The tourism committee, Louis Warren, had their first meeting last week. And there's $1,100 in the account right now. We chose not to use it for trout days, because A, trout days is right here. And two, there's a lot of other events going on across Plains, so we're really trying to figure out the best way to use those funds, the best market, the village. So, but we're meeting again in June, so we'll have a pretty active weekend for the summer, or active meeting scheduled for the summer. So we kind of get them sorted out.
Is this a new committee?
Pardon me?
Is this
Yes.
a new committee? Oh,
It's we started to collect room tax.
oh, yeah.
Part of the
Mhm.
rule for room tax, you have to have a
Tourism commission.
tourism commission, because they're responsible for the spending of that.
Mhm.
Since we've collected 1,100, we've put a committee together.
Okay.
And that was approved at the last meeting, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yes.
I think it was actually March. Yep, the March
Okay.
meeting. Yep.
Mary, thanks.
All right, anybody else? Good,
There's some posters in the back. My daughter's in third grade and the third graders apparently took a field trip around the town looking at vacant buildings and things that they thought that our community could use. And so some of the kids gave their posters to bring. I have to return them, but so if you have time at the end, they're in the back.
all right, thank you. Anybody else? All right, village administrator.
All right, I got a few things tonight. First is we want to congratulate Randy Brisky on his retirement. So he's retiring after 21 years of service on May 1st. So we wish him well in his retirement and are excited to celebrate him more later this week. Kane Brzezowski starts as our Parks and Rec director on Monday, May 4th. So we're very excited to have him on board. If you're at Trout Days this weekend, you may see him. He plans to be there, and I'll be introducing him to folks. So you'll hopefully get to see him there. We also are planning to resume summer hours. So that would be on just as we did last year. So the Tuesday after Memorial Day to Labor Day. Completely voluntary for staff to participate, but Village Hall would be open from 7 to 4, Monday through Thursday, and then 7 to 11 on Friday to just provide a little bit more flexibility to folks in the summer. And then just a reminder too, Trout Days is this weekend. We did find out that the Lions have decided not to erect the no carrying alcohol signs. So after our discussion, they decided they didn't want to do it. So just wanted to report back to you all, so you're not surprised when you don't see those signs around.
Thank you.
So,
Good to know.
yep. So that's what I've got.
All right, village department heads, other reports, Bobby?
So back in the August 2025 meeting, I came to the board and asked for permission to buy a DS300 voting or ballot tabulator. Because our old ones were gonna be obsolete, we wanted a second one. So that got approved, however, at that time, the elections commission hadn't officially okayed the machine, so now it has been. And the county was gonna wait until after the April election this year to implement those. But we got an email last week that some other counties around the state started doing the software updates. And realized that it was really affecting equipment, especially the ADA machines or express vote machine. So now they're gonna push off our updates until after the November election this year.
Oh,
So
no.
now we won't get the second machine till after that also. And they're actually requiring us to all get new ADA machines by December or in December, they're $5,000. So they were gonna try to see if they could find some county money to help us out. I'll look for some grants also. And then they really are encouraging us to replace our DS200s with the DS300s. So in our CIP, I had already planned to do that in 2027. So I think we'll be all right, but just wanna give you a heads up that we might have that unplanned $5,000 expenditure later this year. But if I can get them to maybe bill us in January, then we can work that in or get some funding or something. Just let you know all about that.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? All right, we'll move to general business. Number one, the administration of oath of office for our new municipal judge. I'll turn it over to Bobby.
You taking pictures? All right, where? Stand with that.
I guess we have to.
Let's read that out loud.
Okay, I, Peter Dierks, having been elected or appointed to the office of municipal court judge, but have not yet entered upon the duties thereof, swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of Wisconsin, and will faithfully discharge the duties of said office to the best of my ability.
Do we have a roll for him?
Yes, I can get a roll for him.
Is it here? Yeah. Well, let's give it to him now. He's official judge now. Oh, super. Then I'll give it to him.
Perfect. Four times, 5 times in 3 months.
Well, we gotta make this official. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Congratulations. Thank you. Yeah. Go ahead, put it on so we get some good photos here. Oh, there we go. That's much better. Yeah. Yeah. Did you want me to rehang that up here? Or do you want to take it home?
I'm gonna steam it, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Good call.
All right. Number 2, discussion and possible action regarding emergency medical service agreement. So this is just gonna be discussion. There's no expectation that we're gonna make a decision. We have some important things to talk through. What you see here, we'll go through. It was sent to you, but the highlight wasn't there. This was just a draft of a draft because we met last month and there's quite a few things missing here that also need to be changed that I brought up. So I will go through it, and if you have questions, just shoot them out. So and I'm only gonna hit the ones that are red or the ones that were missed when they did this. So we'll go to page 2. That was added by, that just basically states that we're previously agreed to this and now we're gonna make some changes. Pretty clear on that. And then page 3 is what the town of Cross Plains wanted to put in. Just so you know, I should probably back up a little bit. This was written by an attorney that the town of Cross Plains hired to do this. So he took the notes and stuff and kind of made the changes so they're more legal than you all had seen the changes that I had made. That's my language. I don't have a law degree, so it's a little bit different, but not too much has changed outside of that. So this is a legal thing. I don't know plus or minus if it's good or not. This will be definitely, the plan is, once I get the final draft, I'll send it to our village attorney to look it over, and I'll also bring it to staff to look at it, to look over, and we'll have some. But this is a legal thing, according to the attorney. This is basically stated in state statute, so they just put it into the agreement.
That was the first clue that a lawyer looked at this.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. But so if you go to page 4, the top, this right here, this doesn't happen, so it'll be removed. This talks about how there's supposed to be certified copies. EMS does not have any certified copies. We just have not used that, so that will be removed out of the next one. Then go to page 5. Big one that they left out, keep going down to, yeah, the middle paragraph, right there. This part here was the part that basically meant that we could only withdraw once every 5 years. That, if you read farther in the document, that was changed every 2 years. So this language will be changed to that language. But this language right now is the language that we really want to change, because that's the one that gives us, we have to do it once every 5 years, and it has to be 2 years before the final contract. All right. Next one is number 7, page 7. This is currently, our treasurer doesn't do nearly any of the things that were defined in the definition of treasurer. So, but yet those things are done basically by the chief. So to clear it up, the chief now is the chief, the secretary, and the treasurer. She handles all of that. If you would go to our audits, and including EMS in the village, they would have a problem with that. That's too much for one person's power, but there is later on where a certain amount of checks written above a certain amount has to be cleared by another board member, and we're clearing that up. This is not ideal, but it certainly reflects what is happening now. Okay. And page 9.
Oh, hold on.
Oh,
You just back up. So in that same section, then you have the treasurer, secretary treasurer will serve, this was confusing. So it said it will serve for an indefinite term. And will serve at the will of the district board. So those are two separate things, it seems like, but you have that the secretary treasurer is going to be, the chief is going to take on the duties of the secretary treasurer, and that role will be indefinite.
well, it's indefinite that it doesn't have a term. So it's not like every 2 years we have to reelect. It's indefinite. Obviously, when she's not chief anymore,
Right.
it's
Right.
not, because you've talked about these are the responsibility of the chief. So the indefinite part means there's not a term to it.
So what other officials are part of that EMS board? I mean, is there a president, vice president?
We have a president and a vice president. Technically, we have, if you go to the old contract or agreement, there's president, vice president, treasurer, and secretary.
Right.
All right, so what we're doing is the secretary has always been the chief. She's the one that takes the minutes, does the agenda, does the secretary work, right? The treasurer, when it was a volunteer service way back, in the sense that they had a treasurer that did more, but as things got more complicated with payroll and more expensive, it shifted over to the chief. And the treasurer only co-signed checks that were over 2,000. But yet in the agreement, it has, they have to be bonded and all that. So.
Okay.
So it's not ideal, but for small, just like we get criticized in our audit, you'll see that next month, the consolidation of responsibilities. They would like it spread. They would like 4 or 5 people involved in the money part of it. We just don't have the numbers, and EMS is even fewer. Pretty much the chief and the deputy chief. And we use I don't think she's an accountant, but finance. I don't think she's a CPA. She does accounting. We have someone that helps the chief with that.
Okay.
Do we need language if the chief steps down or isn't in office, then who does that?
It would, well, it'd be like anywhere else, you'd have to appoint someone. It would probably go to the deputy chief.
If then an interim chief, would it go to her?
Yeah,
Him?
yeah, it would be,
Right.
yeah, it would have, you'd have to give someone that, someone's gotta write the checks.
Or is
And,
there language that that designates that?
um,
Well, we've
Well-
never been with the audit chief, we've had an interim chief.
Yeah.
Chief or interim chief.
and it says it shall serve at the will of the district board, so the district board has the power to appoint and everything. Yeah, I'm not, I think we'd find somebody. And like I say, it's rare that we would go without a chief or an interim chief. All right, page 9, just opens it up, updating it to being modern. For people can, you don't have to be at the meeting. And you can see page 12 is where they eliminate some of the stuff that.
So why would you not bond your treasurer? I mean,
Well, because because right now, we rarely deal with cash, and the treasurer doesn't deal with the money. The treasurer right now only signs checks over 2,000. It's all been the chief and the accountant that does all the other
So
stuff.
now the chief and the treasurer are one and the same.
Right, but they're insured, when
That's what I'm asking.
yeah, they are, but when we had a separate person, that person had to be bonded. Right now, the chief is bonded through our insurance, just like the chief that embezzled. We ended up doing a claim and the insurance settled with us on most of the laws. So we're covered that way.
Okay,
It was just this volunteer that, if you read, just doesn't do the stuff that you would need to bond someone for.
Okay.
And then if you go to 13, page 13. And this you're gonna see, we're gonna clarify, if you look where it talks about approved by the municipalities. You know, that needs to be cleaned up. When I read that, that means it should be coming to the boards. They're claiming that because we put it in our budget, then approve the budget, that it's approved. But we've never taken it up it's no different than the cleaning people giving us an invoice. You know, we don't have the power to say no. So, but they're gonna clean that up. You'll see that in a number of the paragraphs. They just want to make sure it's very, very clear what the intent of that is. Because there was quite a bit of discussion on that. I read that it should come here and get approved by the municipality. They're saying you're doing that once you pay, you put it in the budget to pay the bill. It's an invoice what we get. We're not really negotiating. But anyways, that's in there a couple times, so the next page, you see it up at the top too. It's right up in here again. Approved, so we'll clear that up. So if you can just pull up, this is the new part, and this is the biggest part. The history behind this is we wanted some way that we protect the village financially. And you know, my suggestion at the time was that I think it was 3%. If it's over 3%, the chief has to come to all the boards and get approval. This is kind of a more complicated system. So what this is saying is they're using the CPI Urban Consumer Index +2. Now, they just didn't pull that number out of the air. The history behind that is that's what the state uses for municipalities and cities. If you're below that, then you can take the extra EMS costs. It doesn't go against your levy limit. If you remember, we passed that resolution, and in here it talks about having that resolution passed every year. Everybody has to pass it, then you can do that. That's where they're pulling that number from. And then the other part of that is every 5 years, they can spend up to 10%. Now, if the budget goes over the index +2, or that every 5 years, the 10%, it has to come to all the boards, all the municipal boards, and pass. All right, so that's the key for what we were looking for, is having that ability to protect ourselves financially. That is there. It's probably not as strong as I would like, but it's negotiations. And then the last part of this, which makes sense, is if we get into a situation where it doesn't pass the boards, then automatically you get the same budget as last year, plus anything you've committed to on a labor contract. So if we said to the chief, the next 3 years, you're gonna get a 5% raise, even though we don't approve the overall budget, that 5% gets kicked into it, because it's a contract. And legally, we would be, a contract is gonna override this, agreement.
But like an ambulance would be more than 10%, so where
Well, we're not even talking about capital.
Okay, that's.
We're not talking, this is just operating,
Okay,
just operating. And it has collective bargaining agreement. To me, it's just a contract. If we have a contract with the chief, just like we have with Carly, it doesn't have to be a collective bargaining one, it's a contract, and we're gonna honor the contract. So, there's that part of it. And then, if you look at the next page, the top of it, that's what I'm talking about, like we did last year. We're all agreeing that we're gonna do the resolution so people can, have that, so it doesn't count against the levy limit. All right, go to 16. Okay, so what we have right now is we do it on population, is how they divide out how much we each pay. For the village, it's pretty easy. DOA every year gives an estimate on what our population is. Towns are a little different because they're split up between districts. So the town of Cross Plains is in part of ours, part of Mount Berry is part of ours, District 1. Springfield is part of us, part of Middleton, part of Wanakee. So we do it by population. So it's difficult to figure out because DOA will give them the population of the whole township. So what we've agreed to, and this is what we're kind of talking about, is you take the population, then you take how many permits have been issued, times what the latest census is for average people per household. So you make that multiplication, you add it on, and that's their population. Every 10 years, we obviously clean the board because we have a new census number, and that's how we do the calculation. Now in here, it has the vacancy rate. We decided, most of us decided that we shouldn't throw that in. Because vacancy rate would be used on whatever the census was, in this case in 2020. And vacancy rate is really a snapshot, right? Vacancy rates change. A house could be vacant, and then the next day it's got people in it. One day it could have people, the next day they moved and they're selling it. So vacancy rates, we said, no, that's too, it moves too much. It's not stable number like the others. So that is going to be eliminated.
Did everybody kind of agree to how to do that figuring as far as the townships?
Yeah, the only one that really, well, this was again done by the town of Cross Plains, so they're the, Greg wanted that in, but Springfield and I did, Poundberry rep kind of just goes with the flow. Okay. Okay, they missed here on page 17. You see in here, it would be where it talks about, mileage. I got my glasses on. No, it should be higher up, okay. Yeah, it should be right above. Each building.
To the extent mileage.
Yeah, all right, that's gonna be eliminated, because we don't do that. Now, that's a past practice where they used to take mileage charges and put it into account by the next ambulance, but we've gotten rid of that a number of years ago, so that was left in, that will be removed, because that's not how we operate. All right, page 18 brings up the same thing. You look at recommendation 1 under budget. It says, oh, go down just a tad. Right here. It's saying that they recommend a budget for the districts and again, it's not, they pretty much give us an invoice, so we're gonna clear that up. Right. Page 20. So this part here is very confusing to me in the sense that it basically says the district board, without approval of the municipalities, can change the borders. And then down here, it says you need approval of the town board. So they're gonna clean that up. Because it doesn't really make much sense. And then this part here puts us on an equal, where if let's say town of Cross Plains, let's say the village of West Milton, they're gonna do their EMS, and then town of Cross Plains wanna hook up with them, they have to give us at least 2 years' notice that they're pulling out, so we can adjust budgets for that, just like when we're pulling out, we have to give them 2 years, so it kind of puts us on the same. All right. The withdrawal, they didn't do this in red, but this has all been changed to what I was talking about earlier. All we have to do is give the 2 years notice on that. And then page 22. So if you looked at the old one, we've always had this, so that didn't change, but it refers to mediation. Then when you go to arbitration, if you read their first sentence, talks about if mediation doesn't work, you go to arbitration, but there is no mediation step. So basically the red is the step, and some of you will kind of recognize this. This is basically what fire calls their arbitration. They only have arbitration. So I just took fires and changed the word from arbitration to mediation. So it's consistent with the language of fire, how they work, but fire only has this. They don't have step 1 or step 3. All right, so then time 23.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, go near the bottom. If you read, no, you gotta go down a little bit. Where it starts with, go down a little bit more.
On 23.
No,
Oh,
I'm
you mean
sorry.
up?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, okay. So right here it says, each municipality shall bear equal cost of any arbitration proceeding, right? Now you go to shared costs down here. And it says the expense of the arbitrator will be divided and shared among municipalities in accordance with their proportional share. They're in conflict, right? So what's, the majority, we're eliminating this one. So it'll be where everybody, if we go to arbitration, everybody's gonna bear the same cost. But that should be in the new one. And then there's just, if you go to 12.2, the whole thing of proper officer. I don't know who that is, so they're gonna define that. It's not a big deal. And then the last is just what you have the language saying this replaces the old language. So that is the what I went through, hopefully will be the final draft. So what I will, again, we're not gonna do anything. We will have to make a decision at our May meeting. I think that's May 10th, if I'm right.
11.
11th, gosh, I don't know, why is that 10th in my head? May 11th,
Mother's Day.
Mother's Day, okay. So that'll be important. So if you have, we will get you the final draft as soon as possible, as soon as I receive it. Make sure you read it. Think about it. If you have questions, feel free to call me on it. The other important thing we have to think about is what are our next steps? And the next steps will depend on what path we choose to take. We're not going to choose that tonight, but we need to talk about, I want to make sure there's no surprises on what the next steps could be. Obviously, if we agree and everybody agrees with this agreement, and we all get it passed in May, then, you know, it's pretty much done, and that's the path. And we're pretty much put this to bed. The other path is we have people saying they agree, but we don't have official action by all the boards. The key to this is our leverage ends July 1st. If we don't do something by July 1st, then our leverage is gone and they can say, hey, we're just gonna use the old agreement and we're right back where we started from, which would be extremely unfortunate. Now, the option there would be, is we would still be forced to give notice that we're going to pull out to save our reserve, but we would say that we will rescind this if everybody passes the proposed agreement. The other path would be if people say, no, we're not interested. Worst case scenario, we're not interested. We're just going to keep it as is. Then I think the path would be, we would withdraw. We would give an option for an agreement and see who wants to go, but we would make the agreement exactly how we want it. We would also offer if they wanted to do a contract service with us, or they can do that. I think that's the least likely, but many of you know, I always plan for the worst and hope for the best. So we need to cover ourselves on this. On the financial picture, I'm not too worried about any of the future steps, because in even the worst case scenario, we could cover costs with the closing of the TID. I just don't see that, but what has been interesting in all of this is no one has talked about the next step if this doesn't get passed. Which could be a good indication that everybody's looking to get it passed, which is positive. The negative is, and it's not so much for us because our residents are going to pretty much stay the same with services and stuff. But if the towns choose to go with a different service, their response times are gonna be easily 5 to 10 times longer than what they are right now. And no one has really talked about that, which has been kind of interesting to me. I know Greg brought up at the last meeting, saying, you know, he has some concerns about what the next steps are. So we will certainly have that discussion in May 11th. My meeting is May 13th, and I will certainly share what we discuss and what we decide. So again, this is just food for thought to think about it. And then we can have the discussion. It is important, obviously a very important topic. It's been a long road and at times very bumpy. But for us, I think we are through the tough times and we just have to just keep sticking to this, and then people have to feel if this is enough for them to be comfortable with. I think on the fairness side, I think we're there, you know, we're all being treated equal. On the finance side, I think we have the bare minimum of the financial protection that, you know, for me, that was a high priority. We can't afford to get a bill of 98% increase or 89% increase anymore. We just can't afford that. So this would obviously stop that. I would say it's very generous when you do CPI +2 + 5 year 10%. I think village employees would love that if that was the case. But again, I think the difference that we have to kind of look at is they're just getting into being a paid service. So clearly there's not the history of getting things where they need to be, and it's changing every day. They still have, you know, about 22% of their shifts are covered by volunteers. If that goes down, obviously, there's gonna be an increase in cost because those, that 22% we'll have to pay for. So, you know, there's things in there that, it's understandable where costs might be a little bit higher. So where do I see the future of this? And I know there was obviously the big pushback on, you know, me wanting us to take over and all that. That has never been my intent, but I am also saying, I do believe at some point that is going to happen in the future. I don't think if, it's just a matter of when. This organization, probably by the time the next census comes up, will probably have a budget of $1 million. It's at $750,000 now. I think we are blessed to have the chief. I am pretty convinced she's putting in 50 to probably 70 hours a week. You're not gonna necessarily be able to find another person willing to do that. Our two previous chiefs left, and one of their reasons was because it was too demanding on their time. They weren't able to do the things they wanted to do on their free time. So that may also push it. As they get larger, it'll be harder and harder for them to manage that without additional help. That efficiency wise would make sense to come here versus paying for a administrative assistant, paying for an HR person, you know what I mean? So, you know, I think that's the future, but I'm not so sure the timing is right. The other area that we brought up was, accountability and, transparency. I have to say that EMS staff has done a great job on improving in those areas. I don't know if anybody's looked at their website. There's a lot more information on it. We've moved our meetings from the fire district to the town of Cross Plains where people can get on Zoom. So there's been great improvements on that, and they should get credit for that. While they were extremely opposed to this effort at the beginning, I think almost everybody has seen that there are parts of the agreement that we can all agree on that needs to be changed. They have brought that up at a number of meetings, and a number of them have forward ideas to resolve things. So they have a vested interest in this process right now, which is very good. So that part has been, I find, very positive. That we're at a much better place now than where we were in, I guess it was it July where
July.
the firestorm occurred? So I think it's good, and I really think we need to push this over the finish line. I think continuing with the current agreement would be a huge mistake. So you have time to think about it, and like I say, when I get the final draft, I'll send it out to you right away, and we'll have a good discussion and see where everybody is on May 11th.
The final draft, is Paul gonna look at that, or has he?
Yes, I will, once I get it, yes, he'll my hope was that I would have it by now. We meet next Wednesday as staff, so I'm gonna, by staff, and I was hoping Paul would be able to review it by staff by then, because then I could go to the meeting and, you know, have that information from our attorney. So yes, this is the early stages, of getting to the point where we have a final, you know, agreement to actually do versus the reports and everything. Now, if you want to get caught up and see the history of this, all the documents have been placed on our website under community discussion. And it would be interesting to read some of the early stuff and see where we are now, to see how far we've come. So, are there any questions? Judy?
So our next meeting is May 11th, but you're not meeting with them until May 13th. So if we approve it on May 11th, we still don't know if it's gonna be.
No, what we would do is, if you were in agreement with it or passed it, I would let them know, and then that would be their step on what they are planning to do.
I mean, on 13th.
Oh, yeah, and if we don't, I would probably, depending on what happens, I may call a special session in early June. Because there's no way with our June meeting, you know, that late in June,
Right.
that we could get the letters out by July 1st. And that's a critical deadline that we gotta keep in mind. And then I'll bring back hopefully what Paul has said and what staff has said. And the other thing is, this will all be done in open session. This is a important thing for the community. So it's important at this stage where we're at a final thing to do it in public. As we were negotiating and stuff, that definitely warrant closed session, but now we're at the decision-making stage, so it'll be in open session. And it would not surprise me if EMS will be here and give their views on it. We good? All right. Number 3, discussion and possible action regarding general fund unassigned fund balance. Bobby, wow.
Yeah. So this is not something completely new. A couple years ago, we did this where we moved excess fund balance from the general fund over to the capital fund to help pay for projects. And then when we were talking about how to fund the new village hall, we had talked about kind of the $1 million we'd be able to, with the general fund to pay for that. So now that we have the audit draft, the unreserved fund balance is almost $2 million. And our required minimum is just over 700,000. So at this time, I'm proposing that we transfer over the $1 million. And then, maybe later we might need to do a little more depending if we get some grants hopefully or something.
All right. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to move $1 million from the fund balance to general fund. Is that where you want it?
From general fund to capital.
From general fund to capital.
I'll second it.
All right, I have a motion and second discussion. Cameron,
So that puts the bank account at just shy of $1 million. Are we comfortable with that? I mean, from like an emergency.
It'll be like
standpoint,
1.3.
and we have to have,
So we have 2 million.
Yeah, the minimum is 717.
Right.
Yeah, we have 1993.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
moving $1 million, we'll have
Okay, yeah.
993.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah, sorry.
so I'm just making sure the masking, just, or be the village comfortable with that.
I am, because I think on 2026 will be a similar thing where we're gonna add to fund balance. We've had a lot of staff
Vacancy
vacancies. Interest rates are still doing very well on our investment interest, so I think in 2026, we'll still have a very adding to the.
all right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. So moved. All right, discussion and possible action regarding installation of a sensory impaired child sign on Westview Court. Who's taking lead on this?
And
All right.
so, public safety got a request, you guys heard the public comment, the same request. We looked at a lot of stuff. There's a whole bunch of process and procedure we can put around this. Proof of, needing the sign, applications, signing documents that confirm that you're gonna stay living at the residence for a year. The resident could pay for the sign, and we went through all of it, and we kind of got to the end, and we're just like, we've gotten one request for this so far. It's a good thing to do. Instead of adding the process and the burden and all of the stuff for just the first request, what we are suggesting, or what we referred to the village board, is just to install the sign. The picture is below, a sign that looks like that. 150 feet on both sides of the property. And we would circle back and come back to the process and the applications and all of the other stuff if this were to become a more prevalent request.
So I guess, like I say, I'm okay with this. But I would ask that if the family leaves or moves or something, we take the signs down and we keep them and we move them around instead of being permanent and they stay there even when there isn't it, because then you kind of lose the meaning of it. Plus we have them all over and people don't know. So, they look like, that looks like just your typical, traffic sign. So a couple bolts and it can be removed, and we can store them if the child leaves and move them to another area if need be.
I just want to make a quick comment, where this is going, without divulging much information, there are other children in similar situations. On this report. So it would benefit that for sure.
Yeah.
So would there be,
Okay, Michael and Jeff.
oh, sorry. Would there be one sign or two? We said 150 feet would just be one coming in and one, because it's a dead end is what I was just asking. Or you put another.
I don't know, did the committee decide?
We had said on both sides.
Both sides.
Both sides. It's heavily, there's a lot of traffic on Westwood Court.
Because all those apartment buildings, right, so.
Well, and there's just a lot of traffic.
Jed,
I'd make a motion that we approve the installation of the sign.
do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second discussion. Bill,
Just, what's the cost of?
what they said, 180?
I don't think it's
It didn't say exactly, but we won't say we talked, well, what was it again, Matt? I think.
It was probably $180 each sign.
Yeah.
I thought I heard that somewhere.
I guess my question, I didn't know it was on both sides. So if you do 150 feet to uphill. What happens if that's right, and I know there's some property lines, some parking issues. So is that 150 feet minimum, or is that 150 feet maximum?
I don't understand, what's the parking problem?
well, there's driveways.
There's
Visibility.
parking lots. There's not much for medians there.
Oh, I see what you're saying, if you couldn't,
There's not much.
if 150 feet is a driveway?
Yeah, or.
Oh,
driveway
okay.
or a parking lot. So is that 150 feet minimum or maximum?
Yeah, just close to 150 feet. Yeah, we're not
I'm
gonna,
just saying, there's a lot that.
Yeah,
that side of the road's pretty crowded, so.
yeah, gotcha,
We
okay.
didn't, we took that because we looked at a lot of other municipalities who had regulation and stuff around this, and that was like in some of them. 100 to 150 feet from the driveway on both sides, so we went with that, but we. Did not want to add to Carly or Chief Tody's job with the application and all of the other stuff at this.
No.
this time.
And 150 feet, you just want there, if it's a little bit more, that's fine, a little bit,
Less, that's what it is.
yeah, it doesn't.
Sometimes those signs do have a minimum, because if you know, when you see the sign, you need to slow down, so. I don't wanna get it too close, and then the sign essentially doesn't do.
Well, okay,
That's a 25-mile-an-hour zone though, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
I guess I'm not, I mean, we do stop signs and we don't have people slowing down before stop signs, I mean, you just drive and you follow what the sign says. Yeah, Sarah?
I think though, they're thinking like this kid is going to be in the proximity, so you want more space than say a stop sign. Like he might.
Like if it was right on top of the driveway, is that enough warning? I think is.
Oh, I understand, I understand,
It's serving its purpose and not.
yeah, 150 feet, my gosh. That's good distance for 25. But I mean, you could get past that sign being cared, and if the child runs out, I mean, it's not so much on where the car is coming from. Where how far you're away from the child when he comes out. All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye, all opposed, same, so move. 5, discussion and possible action regarding new Village Hall Police Department. Construction update.
Sure, I can start with that one.
All right.
So every month I bring just updates on the new Village Hall construction. Along with the costs incurred, and then if there's any pay application requests. So we do have one of those again tonight. And a big one tonight. So I just have like a timeline of some of the bigger things that have been completed. Obviously, it's really starting to look like a building. So they completed all of the structural steel last week. So it looked like they had completed everything for the community room. So that's all, everything like you can kind of envision where we'll be sitting in several months. And so then they're also working on precast plank installation. So now they've been having a lot of different people from the trades there. So working on the mechanical, electrical, plumbing rough-ins. And then they completed the lower level slab. So it very much looks like a basement now. And so they're continuing to rough in things and work on masonry. We're also working on keying. So that's basically determining like the hard lock and key, to certain doors throughout the building. It's going to be pretty simple because we have a lot of key card access that we're proposing. So we're hoping to finalize all of the keying stuff at our meeting. We have a construction meeting tomorrow, that Jay and I attend every other week. And continuing to work with Wold on technology, making sure everything is roughed in the way we want it to be. And then, as you all know, furniture and police lockers, those contracts were awarded last month, on the March 23rd meeting. So we're continuing to move forward. And then we've also, as you all know, signed the contract for the WEDC Vibrant Spaces grant. So you'll be seeing, they require that we put up a sign, kind of thanking them for their award. So that'll be outside of the job site soon. And then working on other grants. That's my construction update. And then financial update, did you want to give, Bobby?
Oh, yeah,
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
what did you
Yeah.
find out about the extra stones?
Still waiting,
Bill,
still waiting, but it's not on this bill.
okay,
I'm watching that.
okay.
They know.
They sure do.
For this, I think the only thing that really changed is I added in the furniture down payment and under expenditures, and then the pay app that we're approving tonight is included in the construction contract line. And maybe another one, the architect. I guess kind of related to this, since we're moving $1 million over from general fund. As of right now, I'm planning for borrowing timeline for this year is in June, we'll authorize to go out to bid. In July, we'll award bid and then receive funds in August. So I think we'll have enough cash here to get us to August. Right. That's kind of that timeline.
And I guess I just want to update on the grant.
Yeah.
I want to give, Matt did a great job. He's helping me, locate things. He found a really, great shelter for us and, it's right now, it's, at a discount of like, I don't know, 12% plus free shipping. Plus they'll put it together for $900. So we're gonna probably, order that tomorrow. With some of the other stuff, so we're gonna start ordering stuff for the grant, so that's. And then I have, hopefully I'll know a date tomorrow afternoon when I can sit down with the engineers to figure out the path and the pylons that we might need. So that's moving right along and that's gonna be really a cool addition.
You need a motion.
Yeah, so then the motion will be for,
Well, that's the next
yep,
one.
yeah, the
Payment.
number C.
Right?
Letter C.
Yeah.
Number
There's-
C.
Okay, I'm still here, still on B.
Yep.
But that's all right, we're excited about it.
A, B, and C were on the other page, so.
Oh.
I thought it was just this one line.
Oh, okay. So we're at C, so do I have a motion then for payment application number 4?
I'll make that motion to approve the contractor payment number 4 of $579,374.68 to Brickell Brothers.
I'll second.
All right,
That would be 347. You had said 74.
Oh, that's what's in the recommendation on here.
Oh, I'm looking at the scroll.
Are you looking at the actual letter?
Yeah,
It's 374.
347.
374?
Scroll down. To this, yeah, keep going. Keep going. Right there.
Oh, it should be 3.
The value is different.
good catch.
Thank you.
Sorry, Sarah.
We got 2 official ones, you know.
I mean, someone clearly, I think on the, well, I don't know which one.
Well, see, I don't
I'm
know.
assuming on the other one, someone just hit, flip the keys. when
Yeah,
they're
so we
typing
got
it out right
47
now.
here.
So I assume this one's.
This one should be
Well,
correct.
the only thing that, the other one was from Wold, right? And they're the ones that checked the math.
So we got 374.68, and then we've got,
So they're our person who we're supposed to be using as our
I think
judge is the top one, so I don't know if they've eliminated some of the costs.
No, I think
No, I bet
I think they checked. it.
Transposed the number probably.
The Wolt signed it, and there's this,
Brickle.
no, MGAB, so someone also initialed it. I think then someone took this number, typed it in an email, and just flipped those two numbers.
Okay,
Can I just
It's
say
transposed from
47?
74 to 47.
Can I say?
yeah, go ahead.
$579,347,000, or sorry, $347.68.
All right, do I have a second? I need a second, all right. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say. So moved. All right, discussion and possible action regarding Bear Park Tennis Court repairs following October's incident.
Yes, I can take this one, and then I have two Matts to help me out as well. So this is regarding, so back in October already is when a vehicle damaged the Bear Park tennis courts and adjacent baseball fencing. So we've taken care of the baseball fencing. I mean, as some of you know, we also have additional baseball fencing to take care of since a light fell down on it during the storms a couple weeks ago. So this is just regarding the tennis courts themselves. And so there are options for the surface and there are options for the fence repair. And so we're bringing it to this body to kind of help us out in deciding because there's a lot of options. And so we did take it to Parks and Rec at one point. And there was some mixed reviews about the sport court. So that was the surface that we had originally put there. It's kind of a spongy surface, so it's supposed to be a little bit easier on people's knees as they're playing. There's some additional drainage components to it, so it gets water off of it a lot faster because it's able to drain like through it. So there are tiles that get placed on top of the concrete. So that's what we had. We had a 17-year-old version of the sport court. And then we had green fencing around it. So when we went to the insurance company, we gave them quotes for sport court and to repair our current fence. So that's the number one option that you see tonight, which would use all of the funds that have been provided by the insurance company. So all of the insurance proceeds.
Just,
Yeah, go ahead.
so the proceeds, when you wrote it in here,
Yeah.
it made it sound like that, some of that proceeds went to the fence. The baseball fence.
No,
that was
those
a
aren't in here.
Okay.
So the 65, that's fully for the tennis court project.
All right.
And paid for by insurance. So like I say here in option one, if we were to go with the sport court option and repair the fence, that would use the funds that we have. But there are other options. And so we wanted to make sure that you guys were aware of those. So there's an acrylic coating that you can put over the concrete. So initially I found out some research from Mike Axon. So initially the concrete was broomed, meaning that it had some texture to it. And there was a plan to just paint over it, which isn't really possible. You can't just paint over it and use it as a tennis court. So I think that's why the sport court was chosen at that point. And yeah, you can correct me if I'm wrong, because I obviously wasn't here. And so, but now they have a more advanced option, which is called like an acrylic coating, where they put like multiple texture or coats over top of it to eliminate that kind of brooming. So then it can be played on. The major, the thing that isn't the greatest about it, major drawback, is just that there's more maintenance associated with it. So the sport court we laid down 17 years ago, it probably would have lasted 10 more years. We didn't have to do anything to it. Whereas this, it has a 1-year warranty. And I know Matt Esser has talked to some folks in Sauk that have acrylic coating and have some mixed reviews as to whether they like it or not, because, you know, obviously it's concrete, it can crack, water can get into it, you can freeze, you know, there's crack filling that needs to happen on the court. So that's kind of the drawback to the acrylic coating. Obviously it's a much lower price tag, and it might be, players might like using it more, because I guess the way that the ball bounces is different on a sport court versus like a concrete acrylic type situation. So there's options. There's also, you can repair the fence for, you know, $15,573. Or there's also the option to do a whole new black fence, like if you wanted the whole fence to be repaired or to be replaced. The thing about the green fence, again, it's old, so it's faded. So the new part is going to look different. So I don't know if aesthetics are a big deal. I don't know. There's just a lot of options, and that's why I wanted to bring it here tonight to discuss.
So what did Park and Rec recommend?
So the majority of the group was okay with sport court, but there were a couple voices that were stronger, like Sarah's.
Okay, so I also feel like I have used the court and my daughter uses the court a lot, so that's why I had a big feeling about it. I will say our current sport court was in very bad shape. It was terrible. If you ever played on it, it was awful. But I also, yesterday I went to Westmoreland Park in Madison,
Yeah.
and unfortunately there were footballers, but they did let me on for a few minutes just to try it. It is 100 times better than our court. So
It's a new sport court.
Yeah, a new sport court. The ball bounces nicely. It's grippy. I just think it's something where, like, I would be fine. I know because the maintenance issue is a big deal, and I want to see us have a good court. I do think though it's something like we should watch it, and when it needs to be replaced, maybe at that point, if it's not. I mean, we can discuss what should be done, but I could see like, if we went with sport court this time, maybe the next time it has to be replaced, we look at, again, we'll look at the options. But I do think the sport court they're putting in now, they've said it's not the same thing that was put in 17 years ago. So it's a better product. And it did, I mean, it was very nice, and I was shocked. Because the current one, you could like feel the tiles moving.
Oh,
And I grew up near Westmoreland, played tennis there when it was tennis, and it was blacktop with a paint green with the
Yeah.
white line.
yeah.
We all survived.
Yeah.
Right.
Right, and I was kind of surprised because theirs was up higher, whereas, I mean, ours is low, so
Yeah.
that is what Mike had always said, because ours is low in the water.
Hey,
But
Julie.
go ahead.
Well, I just got a question. So if we stay with the sport court and like it starts getting crappy, like you think, with the 15 warranty, won't they fix it and make it better?
Yeah, so that,
Yeah.
right, so that's what I was.
feel like. I would
feeling
lean towards that with a 15-year warranty, even if, yeah.
Yeah, cause,
Yeah.
okay, here's my other thought is and this is why I looked into it a lot, cause I thought about this over and over. The acrylic, I thought, well, if it starts to get rough in 5 years, I also see a board being like, let's just push it and push it and push it, and I want a good product that.
Well, I'm guessing that acrylic is very similar to what people are putting in their garage and basements. You know, there's
Yeah.
the coating.
There's several
So-
different coats. I think there's like
Yeah,
4
it's
different coats.
things, but it's the same principle.
Yeah.
It's very thin. But the thing what you do is you put a new layer over when it gets bad.
Yeah.
Unless the concrete underneath cracks.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but that's gonna be with a sports court too. If it cracks, it's gonna lift the tile up, that,
Right, and that isn't that where warranty would kick in if it did.
Yeah.
crack?
Well,
That's what I feel like.
well, the concrete's not worn, it's just the surface part of it. Just,
These acrylic ones, though, they were saying, I think they only last like 6 to 8 years.
yeah,
right? So,
yeah, I would imagine then you'd lay a coat over it, yeah.
Kind of a,
Yeah,
yeah,
Mhm.
and I don't know. Okay, go ahead.
What is the surface of the pickleball? So is that an acrylic surface or
No,
what is that?
that's just concrete.
Do you want to
isn't
come
it?
up, Matt, if you
Or
have
that's
anything for
asphalt, I think, with paint.
But we did the
Yeah.
pickleball courts from brand new. The problem with the tennis court is it was designed originally to be a skate park.
Right.
Skating rink,
It was a skating rink.
that's why there's a dip in it.
Yeah.
And so what happened is when they groomed it, you can't have people playing on that because you would get scarred and scratched.
Right.
And so then it got abandoned and turned into a tennis court. The option was the sport court. So that's the history of that facility.
Right, but I was just asking about the pickleball. What is surfaces? Is
It's-
it asphalt?
I don't know exactly what it is, but it's not an acrylic.
It's asphalt with just painted,
Paint.
yeah, like the old days that you
So
played.
not
tennis on.
concrete base.
Yes.
So- Okay, that was just wondering
Yeah.
what that was.
Mhm.
Well, I'm indifferent
Yeah.
on the surface part of it, but I think we just repair the fence.
All right.
Versus replacing it for 40 grand.
Yeah,
Just to
I just
change
wanted
the
to
color.
throw it on here as
If
an
it's
option.
faded, it's faded, it's gonna get, the new stuff's
It's gonna get faded too,
anyway,
yeah.
So it'll blend in.
Mhm.
So you like this, the new sport courts are, cause I agree with you, I'd been down there playing tennis once and I'm like, the ball, when it hit the ground, it lost
Yeah.
a ton of energy, I was like, this
I
isn't
agree.
even functional, like.
No,
a
it
tennis
was-
court, it was.
It
It
was
wasn't.
much better than I was expecting.
Right.
So it didn't feel any different. I mean,
That was,
the other one felt like you're hitting plastic. This one just felt like,
but I was probably down there before COVID and that court, the sport court surface was bad like that.
oh,
Like,
yes, I've
It was
been
like-
to
it
my,
was
the
like-
entire time I've lived in.
Yeah, it's not that good, I mean,
No.
you were down there when you moved, you could feel it, just
Yeah.
the ball, hit, you could see the ball move things, like, it would lose energy, I'm
Yeah.
like, this isn't a tennis. It was-
Oh, it's a completely different feel.
So,
And even the tiles seem different.
like, they were better interlocked.
Yeah,
stayed
there's no
stronger.
movement at
It
all.
was
And I was like
good.
jumping back and forth.
I'm trying to get it to go, okay.
Yeah. And then my daughter and another kid, they were like playing back and forth and playing it, and they didn't notice any. And they play regularly on courts, so
How old is that one?
it's pretty new.
So within a
I think
year or
it's
two?
like, yeah,
It's only a few years old. I think.
yeah. So
What dedication is there?
I know.
Yeah.
Well,
We did give you a list.
it has been bothering me for a long time, so I'm like, I wanted the right thing when I saw the price difference, but then when I actually tried it out. And I thought about like. You know, longevity and where we can have the highest quality court for the longest amount of time.
Right.
Instead of what I thought about.
So we don't know anything about what. Like what would mean the warranty kicks in on this, like, do they go down and measure, like, oh, if it moves more than a centimeter or. So much, like, what would cause the warranty to kick in, like, we don't.
I'm
have
sure it's
guarantee.
limited.
You know, yeah, that's why I'm just kind of like.
Yeah, I saw,
Is it,
like,
uh,
I read through their reviews for the sport court one and it was just any sort of thing, they'll come out and fix it as soon as they can.
For under the
They had
warranty.
pretty good reviews on like coming out and fixing stuff, even very minimal things.
And they say even on the quote that like there's a 15-year warranty, but you know, commercial facilities can expect to, you know, have use them for 20+ years. Yeah, life expectancy of 20+ years. So
Yeah.
So this is one of the items that, you know, we can decide today, tonight, and either a near future village board has to deal with it, or a far future board has to deal with it. We're not kicking, you know, we're not kicking the can down the road, the short term versus the long term, whether we use the or the acrylic coating, right? So if, for example, if we use the acrylic coating and something has to be repaired in 2 years, the village is paying for that, and the village board has to decide to come up with that money. If we use the sport court, we got a 15-year warranty, and the village board doesn't have to do anything financially until that warranty is expired.
Yeah, I'm suspecting that I'm with Mike, I'd like to see the exact warranty. I don't think it's bumper to bumper type warranty, I think.
It's gonna be better than the acrylic though.
And for a year, it's gotta be better than a year.
Well, yeah, I mean, you understand the warranty's only for a year. I mean, these courts, I heard what, they're supposed to last 6-7 years. So you look at, if you have to buy 3 of them for this, you can get them cheaper than what you're buying the one sport court. That gives you 18 to 21 years. I'm just throwing it out when we're looking at numbers.
absolutely. Mhm.
I like I say, I don't have a strong opinion. I will support whatever the majority does, but I just wanna make sure when we talk numbers, we're talking full numbers, and
Mhm.
I'm not as convinced as you that we're gonna be 15 years scot-free of not throwing money into
I
potential
agree.
court.
Yeah.
I think part of my thinking was because it's low, and this was something Mike had brought up again and again, because of it, how low it is and the potential of water being there, having the sport court eliminates that concern.
Mhm.
And so
It does.
It's bigger concern with acrylic being where it is.
Yeah.
and being wet like that. I talked with people in Sauk and they built the Color Community Park courts 3 years ago. They said those are great because they built drainage around them. They have another court that they built 2 years ago and they said they've done endless maintenance on it.
Yeah, no,
And it's in a much wetter area.
Yeah, like I say, the foundation, to me, you know, the concrete breaking and stuff, that's gonna happen potentially no matter what you put on it. You know, and I'm guessing if someone smashes up one of the tiles, that's not gonna be warranted, we're gonna be paying for that. I think deliberate acts, and I would even think, acts of God are not covered under the warranty. It's generally a warranty.
Mhm.
I think
Takes
that
those,
could be hard to break.
yeah, I don't know, I'm just throwing things out there. You know, graffiti, someone paints it all up, that's not gonna be under warranty. So I have Cameron and then Jed.
I'll make the motion to go with option one.
I'll second.
All right, I got a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
Well, one quick thing, if there's any way you can add in a backboard to. That's all.
So,
You mean Billy Solo play?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we've been looking at that for pickleball. So.
Perfect.
is that going on the tennis court or the pickleball? The backboard will, so one of.
I mean, that's done. Just.
Oh, that's.
Just something to look into. It's not
Okay,
included.
that's what I was like.
Okay.
This is not helping.
Okay, I was like, we just throw that on here.
No, we're not, we're not.
You go, go.
All right, all in favor, say aye. All opposed, same, so moved. All right, discussion and possible action regarding use of artificial intelligence in public material policy. Cameron?
This one's mine.
Yep.
So AI is getting used more and more and more by people, you know, especially I think. People outside of a technical job like me are starting to use it more and more. And it was a little inspired by something that my job had done. Which I basically stole this from, and slightly modified for this. But basically, if people are using AI at my job, there's like a little like, hey, just show us like what did you use and the prompts you put into it. And that has really, really helped just like kind of understand, like, you know, I get thrown a big email with 30 pages of stuff in it. But like just at the top, if I can kind of see what the person was like trying to do with AI, it helps a lot like understand material reading and how much scrutiny do I need to be looking at it on, you know, with like reviewing and stuff like that. So I tried to do something really, really, really lightweight. And have a policy here. So nothing crazy, just something that we'll all hopefully agree to do. Which is, there's a little templated thing, if you're using AI for public meeting material, so if that, you know, village board meeting, a committee meeting, whatever. Just like a tiny little form at the top of whatever you're generating with AI and just say, what model did you use? You know, and the prompts that you put in to get the stuff that you got. And if you scroll down, there's an example.
What's the purpose?
What's the purpose of what? The policy?
Oh, no.
Oh,
I understand the policy,
Okay.
about the policy, but having all this information in here. Of the prompts that you used and what version of whatever intelligent tool that you used, what's the purpose of that?
I think it's really important to know
Why?
if.
I'm sorry.
Okay, you know, if someone's using Grok, the free version, to generate content versus Claude's highest paid premium version, that is gonna have different quality come out of it. That's gonna have different probability of hallucination. You know, there's, you know, that's why to have those kind of things in it. You know, are you using, you know, the Chinese one? I can't remember what the name of is. You know, that one is, you know, that might have other implications, you know, and I can read and review the content that comes after this quick disclosure differently, depending on what AI tool was used. They're not all the same.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I got.
I've got a whole bunch, but go ahead.
Okay, this one's gonna be, I think, simple. So I don't use AI intentionally, okay?
Yes.
But when I write things, it automatically tries to finish my sentence and it corrects grammar and it corrects spelling. Would I have to do this on every one of those? Cause I'm guessing that's AI.
I tried to make that, yeah, well, it probably is. I tried to make that out of scope by the definition in the policy of AI. a generative or agentic artificial intelligence software and or tool, so that's not your spell checks, that's gonna be. That's
Because it does
ChatGPT,
generate your
Gemini.
finishing your sentence.
It does, but I don't think the point is,
Okay,
I know that's not really in the spirit here.
Okay,
To
good.
be pressing on like, oh, I hit tab complete on my email or whatever. The spirit is like going into ChatGPT, the free version maybe, and saying, you know, I need I wanna update this ordinance, tell me what to put in it.
yeah,
Right, like that could, that will definitely spit out something, but like, you know, did you then check that? Like, did you follow, you know, did it cite
No, I-
Wisconsin State?
yeah.
I
statutes?
understand
Did you
that.
Follow it, that's all, and so by having the disclosure thing on the top. And then if I saw that prompt that was like, you know, please update my ordinance for whatever. You know, I would maybe check a little deeper on some of the details that is in that preceding thing. Too many people take it, trust it, copy and paste it and move on, and I just think it would be good to.
so I have Jed and then.
I have something
Bill.
quick and then you get back, because it goes to what you said. So, in my author contract, which I just signed, it says that it distinguishes between generative and corrective. So if you're using it to generate a report or a large document, then I think that that's where it needs to be cited. If you're using it, like if you created a document and you're saying, hey, can you spell check this and suggest a couple of words, then I think that that's fine. He may disagree, but that's where I think that the line needs to be, is in generative versus corrective.
Bill, thank you.
Okay. So. AI is still a new tool. Right? And, as you mentioned, there are a lot of different flavors of that. I use 3 agentics at work all the time. Gemini, I use Google, or Gemini, ChatGPT and Copilot. And, regardless of which one you use, you're going to get a different answer. When you're talking about Genix, okay, when you're talking about, you know, doing a mind meld with AI, basically, not spell checking, but you're actually trying to get content and get information and have AI make it do decision making for you, right? You're gonna get a different answer. Not only are you gonna get a different answer between the different flavors of AI, you're gonna get a different answer when you use the same AI. So if I'm using ChatGPT 5.3, I ask it a question, or you ask it the same question, you can get a different answer, all right? So I'm not opposed to having a disclosure of using AI in official documentation. I'm not. Matter of fact, I think the transparency is important, and this last meeting I had for the tourism committee, I did a whole bunch of AI, and the first thing I said when I presented it was, this is AI generated. And when you use AI, it tells you to verify the data that's in there, because it could be wrong, and you've seen that, right? So all the information that you're looking for, to me, doesn't seem pertinent. I would rather have a footnote on whatever document you have, or every page that you're using, saying, this is generated by ChatGPT 5.3, or Copilot, whatever, if you can figure out Copilot for version Copilot, you know, or Gemini, or whatever the case may be, whatever you're using, I don't have a problem with that, but I think, to me, a footnote on the page or underneath the form of the sheet that you're using would be transparent, that, hey, this information is AI generated. Using a whole disclosure form, I think is, to me, it's overkill. I don't think, and the reason I was asking you before, Cameron, is what would you use this for? Is any decision making going to be based on, hey, we use Grok versus we use ChatGPT? No, it's not. It's gonna say, we use AI rather than going to an encyclopedia. And so that's my 2 cents. And I'm agreeing with you. I think we should have full disclosure that we use it. I just don't know if we need to go into as much information as you have.
I think this is such little information. I mean, obviously, a little footnote is, I mean, even less, but I'm surprised that you wanna go even less than this, cause this is supposed to be really, really quick and easy to, if you're doing this. You know, we're not asking for, I don't need all the outputs put out. I don't need, I'm just saying, the prompts, what you were thinking, and the AI model tool. This also helps future proof a little bit too, because we don't know what's gonna come out. Right, in a year, if there's some crazy AI that comes out and, maybe people don't know it's crazy at first, and then 6 months later, they determine it's, if all the footnote just says, was this used AI? But now, we've been reading news articles, about new AI thing that doesn't exist yet. I don't know, there's gonna be, I would like to know which model at a minimum was used, because I'm gonna, probably look at that material with a different level of scrutiny.
So what's the difference between an AI tool and an AI model?
Well, if you scroll down to my example. I put a cute example in here.
This one?
Yeah. And then scroll down a little bit more. So we're generating an official village haiku. This is, it took me 2 minutes to fill out this little thing and put it at the top of the document. I'm not even saying, again, I'm trying to make this as easy as possible. I don't even think that like someone else needs to review your content from AI. I think you can self-review, but just, putting it in there that, hey, I did double check this, like what you said, all the AI models say it, but like, are people actually doing it? This would help kind of ensure that happens. The AI tools, ChatGPT, the AI model was that, and the AI, that's important because especially as they figure out their pricing models, right? Are you using the free version or are you using the enterprise version?
Sure.
And is there like a large difference in quality there? Even today with Claude, that is being found. So like that was the whole point of the AI model.
Well,
It's basically they're using the free one.
Okay, hang on, I know Sarah wants to get in
Yeah,
there.
go ahead.
I was just wondering, like usually when I'm using it, I'm using several prompts. I mean,
Mhm.
how crucial is it that every single prompt is included?
I don't know. You probably just need the meat and potatoes. In
Yeah,
my
I just mean,
example,
like, the initial
yeah,
prompt.
in my example here, I added 2 prompts, but I also
Right,
was doing
right, like-
something very simple.
Yeah, I mean.
Alright, so for someone who wouldn't know how the heck to do this, when you keep saying this form goes up in the corner, isn't this a separate form that gets
No,
attached to
this-
the end
this-
of your report?
This is just a Word document I made. It's a
Okay,
one.
how does someone get it up in the corner?
Not in the corner, I'm just saying, like in this example, so we can look at the full example, right? So here's my 1 pager, and then scroll down. Here's my content that I generated with AI, obviously in an act, something that isn't just toy example data. This could be like a full report on an ordinance update or something.
Right, but I'm trying to understand, so staff, every time they use it, they fill this out, is it at the front of? I'm trying to figure out
Yeah,
where this
you want it as a
information-
cover page? Is that what you're proposing? Okay.
Again, I was trying to make it easy. to
It's
not
a separate page then.
Yeah, I was trying to make it easy so we didn't have extra formatting and extra, like it just, the 1 little page, put it at the top.
Okay, and then back to the generative versus corrective. Like for instance, sometimes in my memos, I will write my memo and then I will put it into ChatGPT to make it more concise. Is that require a cover page?
I don't specify, I guess.
And see, I would argue that's corrective.
Right.
Not generative, because you're just asking the model to like
Yeah.
help you with what you've already created. It's not. It's
Okay.
not-
Use them for the reviews. I got coworkers that use GPT when they're filling out their own reviews and stuff, and I'm thinking, would I make them put that in there? No.
Right. So,
And
Yeah,
then,
it's just like if you're creating a whole policy.
Well, the thing is, I think we need to have a policy. I mean,
yeah,
it's
absolutely.
it's all over, and like, again, I'm more familiar with what's happening than first responding. It's a blanket, you do not use any type of AI to generate a report. Doesn't matter if it's a police report, a fire report, or an EMS report, you just don't do that. I know in the legal area, same thing with criminal complaints and search warrants and stuff, you're not allowed to use AI. So, those are a little bit easier when you can, when you can't. the documentation, obviously it's very gray to me. I'm not, because I don't use it enough that, I don't know how much of a added time thing this would be or inconvenience or, I just don't know on that part. But I do think we need to have at least a policy on usage, but it seems like you're more focused on the documentation of saying what you used.
I'm more concerned about public material.
Yeah.
Just have, you know, for transparency to both us and the public,
Mhm.
just this thing that you're about to
Yeah.
review or read, or what the village is about to contemplate. You know, AI was used to,
Okay.
that's, it's just a disclosure.
Would it be saying that I would have no problem, you can use AI when you do ordinances?
I
Because that to me is a legal thing.
Yeah, I didn't.
No,
I
you
didn't-
wouldn't agree?
I didn't get you. That,
And here's why.
Okay,
Because I can go with AI and say, hey, I'm looking to build a tourism commission and come up with policies and procedures. Give me other communities that are the size of Cross Plains within the state of Wisconsin. And it's more dialogue, it's more than just using 2 or 3
Okay.
prompts, it's
Yeah.
conversation.
if you scroll down, then my assumption for there would just be, you know, you put
Research.
your name as the author. After you finished and reviewed it, you'd put your name there again, or you'd have someone else review. You would check the box for research, and I'm assuming whatever you're talking about, you generated, like you had a whole bunch of text or whatever that landed in the packet. So you tick the first 2 boxes and you would say, I used ChatGPT model, whatever, and then if we're really concerned about the prompts, we can remove that. But I have to say, at work, it has helped a lot to understand what someone is trying to do. Like with, you know, with it really helps with the context of like what is coming out on the other side.
I would be willing to sit with Cameron.
yeah, I'm thinking,
agree.
yeah,
You know, and have a conversation, you know, or anyone else who wants to sit in that conversation, right? And discuss it. Again, I agree with you. I think for transparency, we need something like this.
Have you looked at other communities' policies?
Yeah, there aren't any.
There
This is-
aren't.
This is pretty, at least that I could
There-
find, this is.
Yeah, they definitely are.
yeah.
Happening.
Madison we had one just for the.
They're starting to happen. This is
Yeah.
Bleeding edge.
Right, but I just think that might be helpful to find out the ones that do have them, to look at what they're doing. I don't know.
Also, I really love to do like the test run of it before we actually.
Oh, yeah, we'll do a pilot for sure.
Yeah. that's
Yeah,
what I'd like to
absolutely.
see that.
All right, why don't we do this? Well, no, what she's saying is your form and stuff, we would, instead of making it a policy, we'd say, okay, we're gonna do it for 30 days.
Oh,
Work it, come
Okay.
back and get feedback from staff and the board, how did it work? Was it
I guess-
easy? Was it?
why couldn't we do that now then?
Well, because I think there's,
Two need to talk.
yeah, you guys gotta,
We're talking about the difference between a footer and filling out
Well, make a
four
motion. then.
questions. Yeah, well,
well, like I say, I don't think it's there yet, and I think we need to have, I mean, this was discussion, right? It's the first time brought up.
Yep.
So we're at discussion, so now you're getting the feedback, now it seems like you and Bill feel the strongest about it, I would have
I'd like
also, yeah, I think Carly needs to be in. 'Cause
I'm
it's
happy
gonna
to join.
And Jed, if you want to, absolutely. You're gonna have to post it with Jed, it's just a subcommittee. Let's do a subcommittee on AI. It's,
Just one meeting is all we need, so.
Yeah.
We can sort it out.
I think,
And. Yes.
and I think we should look at, go ahead and use AI and find out how many villages, 4,000, what their policies are in Wisconsin or United States. I mean, I think we gotta look at it. I'm glad you brought it up and you saw it's a heck of a discussion. I'm not feeling comfortable that I could vote one way or the other. I think we need a policy, but I don't wanna throw a lot of extra work onto staff. And all of a sudden, when you do that, they find shortcuts not to do it, then we get called out, now they're in violation of policy. It's just now, to me, we're not there yet. I don't know enough right now. And I'm sorry that I'm not into AI that much, but I think,
It's
I
fine.
think,
I
I
was
think,
trying to make it as easy.
yeah, I'm
like-
sure you did.
And there's no punishment, there's nothing in here, it's just, again,
No.
it's just a disclosure, that was all it was trying to do, is like, let's be more transparent. But
Yes.
Apparently that,
No, I think everybody's on the same page there. We just gotta just be patient and let's just see if there's a different model out there, or maybe this will be the one we end up with. Could be. So it's Carly, Jed, Bill, and Cameron, and I think you're right. You should be able to knock it out in one meeting and stuff. All right, we're good then? Okay, go to 8. Discussion and possible action regarding village board meeting schedule. I guess I'll take this. It comes up about every 2 years, I'm not gonna go over, I kind of went through a quick summary of history of this. A number of people have come up to me because some of our meetings have been lengthy at times. There have been members that have maybe more willing to go to 2 meetings a month. The meetings would be obviously shorter. There's 2 reasons. One, they'd be shorter. Secondly, one of the negative things we get from the community is the time distance between our meetings. Now, the May one's gonna be a perfect example. We're gonna go May 11th, and then our next meeting's not until June 20th, so that's a long time to go and try to do village business. So as you can see, and again, this is me speaking, and I'm just so everybody knows, my preference, just like it was when Bill was here and when Brian was here, is to go to 2 meetings a month. But if we stay with 1 meeting a month, then I have to say I'd strongly recommend going to the second Monday instead of the 4th. We already moved 3 of the 4th meetings to the second. There's one in November that is not an ideal time to have a meeting the Monday before Thanksgiving, plus the budget. If we don't get it passed, we get crunch time because of the November. So going to the second Monday of the month, which we wouldn't have to change. And you're looking at, if you think about it, we'd be adding probably only at most 8 meetings, because we're still not gonna have our second meeting in December. We're not gonna have our second meeting in May. We're not gonna have most likely our second meeting during spring break. I'm bringing it up once again for looking at discussion here. And the timing of it is difficult. Plus, it would be helpful to have plan and board meetings closer. Plan meetings are the first Monday of the month. So people wouldn't have to wait 3 weeks, they could only have to wait 1 week. There's some huge advantages to that. But again, my preference would be going twice a month, but that has not been a popular thing in the past. Even though that's how it used to always be. But I do think the bare minimum we should do is move our meetings from the 4th to the 2nd.
I also just
Okay,
want
so I have Bill and Judy. and then-
Oh, yeah, I was just gonna throw in that most municipalities have 2 meetings a month. So it's not something that's super uncommon. And I'm just thinking too of, especially with Marchstone and other developments, there's gonna be a lot of items that are coming before this body. And I think, like Jay said, with public hearings happening at Plan Commission, then having them the next week at a village board meeting would really be ideal.
So I have Judy, then Bill. Oh, Bill, then Judy, and then Jed.
So I'm okay with having 2 meetings a month, as long as one of them is not the committee of the whole.
Yes, that will not happen.
Okay, then I'm perfectly fine with that, and if you wanted to still have 1 meeting a month, having it on the 2nd versus the 4th, it doesn't matter to me. I'm good with it either way.
Hey, Judy.
I'm great with moving to the second Monday of the month. I'm okay with having 2 a month if we need them. can we do something like, okay, it's we know the second Tuesday or second Monday of the month, we'll have them for sure. If there isn't anything that can wait till that following month, do we have to have them if we really don't have nothing on there?
No, that's kind of, if you remember, that's kind of how we worked this out when we went to one, is we do the special meetings, or if we go past 10 o'clock, everything gets moved. I would still, if we went to one meeting a month, I would still keep that in place. That if we didn't get through or there was something up,
Right.
the special meeting would be clearly if we don't have anything for either the second or the fourth, we're not gonna have a meeting just to have a meeting.
Exactly.
We would still certainly manage that. So that would be it, but what we need to know is it official that we're meeting the second and fourth? Or are we gonna do the second and then the fourth would be our reserve, our special one?
I'd support the 2 meetings a month, and if there's 4, I'd make the motion that we go with option 1.
I'll second.
All right, I have a motion and a second discussion.
I don't wanna have two of them. I would just have one and then the other one be optional, but not having a record that we have two. And I mean, I'm actually fine with the way it is, to be honest with you, but 2 meetings, I don't think we need that. I don't wanna do 2 like posted meetings. I'd like to have one, have the other one as reserved.
But you can cancel
Okay.
posted meetings,
Yeah, you can.
so like, I don't understand the difference, I guess.
Well, the difference is the public has an expectation there's gonna be 2 meetings,
Yeah.
right?
Then my.
If there's nothing to do, then we can certainly cancel it, while the other is, everybody knows this is it. There are certain rules that will apply to have the second, like we agreed that we aren't gonna go past 10 o'clock, so anything would be shifted. If we have something that comes up in the second meeting and it really needs to be dealt with in 2 weeks, then we would call the special meeting. And if you looked, and I went back, we called 5 special meetings. So really, we're talking the difference between having 2 meetings a month versus not, it's very small. We're really talking small numbers, but. Jed?
I just think after 90 minutes, start losing efficiency and people start tuning out, and it just gets too much. And I think we'd be
Okay.
better off going to 2 meetings.
Just, I'll echo agreement, it's really hard for me to go to work all day. And then I get done at 5, I eat like a really quick dinner and then to have 3 or 4 hours of meetings. It's really hard when you get past that 90-minute mark, as just for me to stay engaged, and that's not good. So, 2 meetings a month is my preference.
All right, Sarah.
I would just ask that if we go to the 2 meetings a month, that we're not going till 10 o'clock. Feel like we should be setting, cause honestly, after 9 o'clock, I think it's pretty, everyone's kind of slap happy.
No, and I think it's been rare that we've gone to 10 o'clock.
Been more frequent lately than we've.
Well, because there's some big items going on. I mean, there's some things, building a new station, police, and the EMS thing, and Archstone, and the new well, and, there's just been a lot going on in the village with, 3 developments we've dealt with in the last 4 years. So, yeah, it should. I mean, I'm not gonna say, no, it's not gonna happen, because there could be a really hot issue that requires a lot of discussion and stuff. So I wouldn't put a guarantee on there, but I think the odds of us going more than 2 hours would be very, very slim, because we don't do it that often here. And these have been piling up. There's no doubt that some of this stuff, half of this stuff could have been done earlier. All right, any other discussion? And I guess, Carly, you're comfortable with it?
Yep, I'm absolutely comfortable.
Okay, Bobby?
Sure.
All right, we're going to do a roll call vote.
Trustee Henry,
Yes.
trustee Borcar,
Yes.
trustee Brochus,
Yes.
trustee Paul Mikowski,
No.
trustee Borcar,
Yes.
trustee Calvater.
No, I think I'm a no, actually.
President,
I'm gonna, yes. So here's what we're gonna do. We'll start this in June then.
Mhm.
Cause there's no sense having one in May, though.
isn't it in any ordinance? It's like we could change any ordinance.
I don't think so. we'll take a look at that. I don't believe so because I think we took away. I don't know if they changed it when they went to a committee of yeah.
You were on.
I don't think the ordinance to state when the meeting.
You may have an answer.
Yeah, I've got one that I think we're gonna have to change is chapter 5 for boards, commissions and committees, because it says that village board members shall be appointed on an annual basis at the April board meeting.
Oh, shoot, yes. I was-
Okay.
You know, so I
So we
mean,
did do that.
No,
but I mean, are we gonna specify which one? Cause it just says in
Because
April.
You can't, right? Because if you read the state statute, you don't take office until the 21st.
Yeah,
So we can't do it before unless, we could do it before and say it takes effect April
Right.
21st. So
well,
we're
I don't
fine
know.
with
Well,
that.
just like if they were saying like in a, that it happens at a meeting in this, you know, this meeting, just assuming that there's only one,
But it doesn't state that it's,
no, but I'm just wondering if there's others that say at this meeting. You know, at the April meeting or at the
Well, no,
May
I don't-
meeting.
Yeah, there is for committees is the May meeting. That's why we didn't have it today.
Well, it actually says citizen members shall be appointed for 3-year terms commencing as of May 1st of the year of appointment. So we could have done today,
Oh,
effective May 1. But anyway, so it's just like,
It says 3.
no, and
3 years.
again, that's not all
Anyways.
correct because police commission is 5 years.
this is just what our current,
tourism is
our
20
current
years.
ordinance says. I'm sorry, just reading the,
Agenda, we need to think some of them.
yeah.
Yeah, we'll look at.
yeah, we just
I-
gotta look at it.
Keep it as broad as possible. But we will start in June. All right,
Perfect.
all right, future agenda items.
That was. The problem, you heard that I almost to clean up some of that.
Well, we could do that. I'm pretty sure when I looked at that, it doesn't.
No, for the committee members.
Well, it says May 1st. We'll read it.
Yeah, let's just look at.
We're gonna pass it in 2 weeks.
Okay.
All right, do I have adjournment and we made it under 2 hours?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, there we go, under 2 hours.